Welcome back to the My Latin Life podcast. Since 2014, My Latin Life has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. Today we have a very special guest, Mikkel Thorup, Expat Money. Welcome to the podcast, Mikkel.
Pleasure's all mine. Happy to be here, Vance.
Thank you. You know, when I first launched this podcast and I made a little, Google sheet of maybe 20 guests that I would love to have. You were one of the first names I put on this. I've been listening to your podcast for a long time. And that was, we're at 250 plus episodes. So that was probably 3 years ago. So I'm glad we can finally make it happen.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's should be a good conversation today and happy to share my experience and my knowledge with your audience. And yeah, it should be a good one.
And I'm probably going to disappoint. This is not going to be 3 years of preparation. I didn't even really come into this with a list of questions. I thought we'll just flow. I've been following your stuff for a long time, and you were one of the first podcasts, like expat, digital nomad, flag theory podcasts that I really listened to. It was like you. It was the Borderless podcast. It was you. It was Tropical MBA. And you were one of those early, top 5 expat podcasts in my mind, and you're still doing it to this day, where a lot of guys have stopped even.
Yeah, we've been running the podcast for 8 years straight, which is pretty wild to think back. Like we've been consulting for about 10 years, just around 10 years, but the podcast going for 8 years straight. And, it takes a lot of dedication. We do every single Wednesday, 6 a.m., we've got a new episode and, I've got a team that works with me and produces the show. I just had an hour meeting with them this morning about new content and what we want to create. And we're always trying to push the envelope. And I still love it. I still really like it after all of these years. And, if nothing else in today's conversation, I hope it really comes through that I still have a passion for this space and all of this type of work. But James Guzman, Borderless. I love James. I've known James for years and years and years. And the guys over at Tropical MBA, they do a great job too. Their niche is very different than mine, but great group of people, and should be good.
Shout out James Guzman. I was just talking to him the other day, and he actually messaged me a lot. But so you're Canadian originally,
indeed,
right?
Yep.
I definitely want to hear more about the origin story. I have some questions that I haven't heard before, but before we do that, I want to, while we still got the audience, I want you to tell them about the conference you have coming up. So shout out the conference.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a new event. It's our inaugural event of doing a large in-person conference. It's called the Wealth, Freedom, and Passports Conference. It's happening live in Panama City, Panama, March 14th and 15th. Tickets are on sale right now if you go to expatmoney.com/conference. All the information is on the page. We've got speakers coming in from all over the world. We're going to be talking a lot about wealth protection, residencies, citizenship, tax planning. There'll be lots of real estate and tangible investments. I'm going to bring in a lot of my lawyers and accountants and property developers and precious metal depositories. All the people that I work with in my private consulting are going to be there. So it's not just a come in and listen to a keynote or a few keynote speakers or something like that, or presentations you've heard other places. This will be really interactive. It's going to be lots of workshops and roundtables and additional things on the go. And then, time to have a coffee or a beer with all of the speakers. So it's going to be an intimate environment. We'll have a few hundred people there, but we try to have everything in one room included, instead of it's like, okay, the speakers are completely separate. You watch them on stage and then that's it. And there's not that back and forth. I don't like that kind of stuff. I like a lot of the community building and the extra things that go into a live event. So that's what we're trying to accomplish. Anyways, really excited about it. Happy to take care of your audience. Anybody who wants to join, if you guys go to expatmoney.com/conference, it's going to be unreal. It's going to be amazing.
That's awesome. And I know you do a lot of these in-person sort of, I don't know if you call it a trip, but you get 10, 20 people together that are interested in relocation and real estate, and you do those excursions or relocation tours. And then you've also done a lot of these online only conferences, right? Where it's sort of like a whole day of online conference, and you've gotten some pretty big guests for that. But I guess doing these in-person conferences, is that something new, or I'm sure you have some experience with it, but this is the first one I've kind of seen in a while.
So first of all, you're absolutely correct. We started off by doing small, intimate events, and we have a lot of experience with those ones. And then we did large online summits with 10,000 people in attendance in an online event. We do 5 days, 8 hours a day, like really, really in depth types of things, and we get anywhere from 6 to 10,000 people for those. And then we've done lots of tours to different countries. So we just got back from Paraguay a couple of weeks ago, or 1 week ago, and we had about 30 people on that. And we brought down my investors. And I actually had a chance to meet the president of Paraguay in person. So actually, I had met him in Panama the week before that, and then met him again while I was in Paraguay. We
Wow.
brought in a lot of the ministers from Paraguay to come and speak to the conference attendees or trip attendees. But yeah, this event is kind of taking the large format that we do for the online, and then putting it together with the small, intimate, back and forth questions and answers type of format we do on a normal tour. So it's kind of a hybrid of the two types of things that we have a ton of experience with, but we've not
Yeah.
done this format. But I think it's going to work really well. My team is amazing. I mean, legit amazing. They're super passionate about this, same as I am, and a lot of experience putting different events together. So I'm really bullish on the whole thing, really.
Yeah, this is definitely where things are going, like in-person experiences. People are telling me all the time that I should do like a, big conference summit thing and sell tickets. So this is kind of your first conference, quote unquote.
Yes, first in-person large conference. But once again, it's like we've done online conferences and we've done lots of in-person events, but not in a conference format. So it's
Hmm.
like sometimes what we will do is we'll do a 7-day trip and we'll do conference material in the first half of the day, like 3 hours in the morning, presentations, and then we go on field trips and we go and see it. But
Hmm.
this is like a full 8 hours, 9 hours of conference material. We're going to have booths and vendors. We're going to have a
Wow.
VIP dinner. We're going to have just like everything you would expect from a full blown conference. Um, you know, so it's kind of the hybrid,
Okay.
because it's that. But then on day two, we are doing real estate tours. We're going to do a city tour. My 42nd birthday is going to be on the night of the second day. So we'll have a live band and an open bar and tons of food. And, we've been doing, see, that's the other thing is we've been doing the birthday party as just a excuse to get people together
Hmm.
for 4 years now. And we usually get about 200 people fly in just for the birthday party. So this year it's the birthday party plus the conference. That's why I guess I'm saying it's more of a hybrid model.
This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Job Stacking. If you're a remote or hybrid worker looking to maximize your earning potential, then Rolf Haltza, author of Job Stacking, guarantees you'll be able to double your income by implementing his paycheck multiplication layering method. This is the exact system Rolf has used to take his own income and those of many others beyond $20K a month. With this method, Rolf contractually guarantees that you'll be able to double your income in 45 days. So, if you're interested in unleashing your earning potential and doubling your income, then click the link in the description and book a call with Rolf right now. That's really cool. And so Panama City, Panama, what's the venue?
So we're at the Golden Towers at the Hotel of the Americas in the Golden Towers. We've got the conference. We've got the entire thing booked out. So we'll have like the large conference hall. Then we're going to have some breakout rooms. We'll have a VIP room. Everything is being there. So we're just taking over basically the whole hotel.
To me, the most official part is selling booths like that. You got to be at like a certain level to sell booths, I think.
It's a whole new dynamic. Like that's stuff that we didn't do before, because there's okay, what are the booths going to look like? What kind of material is going to be there? Who's going to manage? Like, it's one to bring in a speaker, but then if they need staff that are going to stand there all day, then we
Yeah.
need to make sure we feed all these people, and it's just like there's just so much other stuff that goes into it. We'll see how it turns out. Maybe I'll come back and I'll give you guys a recap afterwards, but I think it should be okay.
A lot of moving parts. I'm sure you
100%.
stressed. You stressed. You
Nah,
chilling.
I don't get stressed. I mean, I get excited. I'm super hyperactive, and I like doing like 100 things at once. And if I sit still, then I don't know. I don't feel good. I gotta have lots of projects, lots of pans in the air. So
Well, your output is definitely huge. I remember seeing like a newsletter email from you that was like, we published 400 articles on the blog this year. I'm like, what? In 2014 or 2024? Like, people still do that? And I guess you made that like a thing, and you got the podcast, and like your output is insane. Like, you must have a huge team.
we're a team of 32. So it's not
No.
it's not
Holy
just
shit.
me.
You have
It's
32
not just
people?
I have 32 full-time staff that work for me. And like I said, they're super passionate. So they're very into all of the work that we do. Yeah, last year we did a couple hundred blog articles. We did 52 podcast episodes, probably, I don't know how many YouTube videos, maybe 50, 100 YouTube videos. We did probably 10 or 12 webinars. We did 10 trips to Panama, three 7-day trips to other countries. We did an online summit with 6, 7, 8,000 people, I think, last year. I spoke on stage at probably 6 different countries. We have a membership site, so we do probably about 100,000 words of published content every single month, which is basically an entire book. So we're doing multiple special reports every month
100,000 words a month.
of
I mean, that's
published
like
content.
3 books.
Nah, I think a book is like anywhere from 60,000 to about 100,000 words for a couple hundred-page book. But we do special reports every single month. They're usually come in at around 70, 80, 90 pages. So when you add that plus the blog articles, which are on average 2,500 words a piece, and we're doing 3, 4 a week, yeah, it's a lot of content. It's a lot of content.
Okay, if you don't mind me asking, so 32 staff members, like what are the majority of people doing? Is it majority writers, or is it majority like customer success managers, or
So we have both. So okay, so let's talk on the tech team. We've got a couple web developers, we've got a full-time security expert, we have a tech manager, we have um like a programmer IT, like a true blue tech person.
you got
We've
like
got a
five,
full
six tech guys at
Yeah, I
least?
think I got 5 tech guys. I've got full-time graphic designer. We have 2 onboarding people for new clients. Because you have to understand, we do all the free content, which is mostly what I just described. But then
Uh,
we have a $2,000 a year membership program. We have a
the hub.
$10,000 a year, yeah, with the Hub Business Class. Then we have a $10,000 group coaching program, and then we have a $30,000 one-on-one coaching program. Um, so that's like a lot of people that we have to take care of. So there's a lot of like as you called success managers for those types of things. And then we've got analysts and researchers and experts. So they're constantly like testing new things. So I'm like a guinea pig running around the world, just doing new residencies, citizenships, buying real estate, bank accounts, brokerage accounts, just nonstop. We've got in-house lawyers who work for us, admin staff. I mean, it's a lot of moving pieces. A lot of moving pieces.
And Panama is still the home base.
Yeah, I reside in Panama, but we don't only work in Panama. We specialize in any country that is low tax or zero tax. I mean, I'm not the guy to move you to Germany or Sweden or something with 80% tax.
Right.
It should be. I should always be a value add on all of these types of situations. I'm either going to make you that much money or a multiple of the money that you pay me, or I'm going to save you a multiple of that. That's always the goal. So it should always be a value add in these situations.
Definitely. I don't see you talk about like Armenia and Georgia and like Serbia and stuff like that all too much. Maybe a bit. Like it seems like your focus is more Latin America. Maybe that's just naturally because you're there now. I know you've lived in different countries and lived in Australia or things like that, right? But or you tell me like what's your kind of like
So
split between LATAM and the rest of the low tax countries?
I have been to all the countries that you mentioned. A couple of years ago, I took my wife and my kids to Georgia, Armenia, Turkey, Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan for about a month, and we traveled through all those countries. It was kind of funny, actually. The day that we left Armenia, the president there had basically said, "Oh, that area over there that's contested,
Uh,
that's not ours. That's Azerbaijan's." And that day, Azerbaijan invaded Armenia, and like we were flying out that day. So it's like, you know, those are not types of situations where I really want to relocate clients. And you have to understand, a lot of my clients are highly paid professionals. Like my number one client base is lawyers. Like I have more lawyers as clients than anything
really?
else.
They're
So
like American and Canadian lawyers?
yeah,
Yeah.
American, Canadian lawyers, lawyers, financial planners, accountants, doctors, highly paid professionals. So like even like dentists, like am I going to move my dentist to Armenia or something? Probably not, I mean, I'd rather move them down here to Latin America, where depending on where you go, there can be a lot more safety, and it's much
Uh-huh.
easier for people to go north south than it is to go east west. A lot of them will have either aging parents or kids in university that they want to travel back for.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm happy to go and travel to these places, but for my client base, it's just not what they're asking for. My clients ask for Latin America. It's why I relocated over here, and I wanted to be in the thick of it. And Panama's a great hub destination. I can
Hmm.
travel to anywhere in the Caribbean in 2-3 hours. I can
Yeah.
go down to Paraguay in 6 hours, or Uruguay or Argentina or wherever I need to be.
Hmm.
Direct flights with Copa Airlines. But
Yep.
to get over to, I don't know, Georgia or something, that's
So,
far. Like
so do
that's
you
really
like
far.
promote like Malaysia or Portugal or any of that stuff? Or are you like pretty much like 95% LATAM?
I'd say I'm 90% Latin America and Caribbean. Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
I've traveled to all of those countries. I've lived in Singapore. I lived in the Middle East for 10 years. I lived in the South Pacific for 4 years. I've lived all over the place, but it's just not really what my clients are into. So, and I think that, you can really see a trend in Latin America. This is where freedom is at the
Yeah.
moment. You know, started with, Bukele pushing back against the gangs, and then Milei got in and he's doing some amazing work there. And now you look at Santiago Peña, president of Paraguay, and he's very pro business, right leaning. You look at Daniel Noboa in Ecuador, and he's trying to really make changes there. You look at Molino here in Panama. These are all, heads of state who are really pushing for freedom in the region. And
Hmm.
hopefully they will continue to have a good impact on neighboring countries. Because if you look at the countries like, I don't know, Bolivia or Peru or something, they're not going in the right direction. But hopefully they'll get influenced by, more pro freedom type of administrations, and that
Hmm.
will be the trend. But I'm not seeing the trend of that in Europe, for example. Europe is going into a complete tax hellhole, and um, there's lots of history, and it's good to go on vacation there. But relocating and making people tax residents in that country, I'm not so sure.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Well, I mean, that's reassuring for us to hear, right? Because I mean, my Latin life
100%.
is all Latin America. We kind of, I guess, saw the same thing that you were seeing.
Yep, 100%.
And what's kind of so you mentioned doctors, lawyers, high paid professionals. I know some lawyers that are able to work remote for the most part. Doctors, not so much until maybe the robotic stuff gets better. Are you finding, what's the split between people that are able to make money online versus, I guess, if they can't make money online, is it a plan B or is it, they're retiring?
So, very good question. And it's kind of a combination of all of the above. So, I would say my client base is about 50-50 of people who are just looking for a plan B. So they sleep better at night knowing that they have a second home and a residency bank account, precious metals, whatever it might be overseas. And then the other 50%, we're doing a relocation for them. And we walk them
Hmm.
through the entire process and support everything, like
Yep.
soup to nuts type of thing. Now, what they're doing on the back end for work, if we are doing a relocation, you're going to see a combination of people who are able to transition their wealth or their business to an online. So with take doctors, I mean, there is telemedicine. Some of them are doing that, but a lot of them are not doctors that are working in a hospital or for somebody else. They often have their own practice. So then
Hmm.
they step more into just a management role, or they consult back to their company.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that makes things a lot easier. And then a lot of them, to be honest with you, are just selling their practice because they don't want anything to do with this anymore. It's too cumbersome. Insurance is terrible. Like you look at the chances of getting sued in the United States, and basically the professions that I listed are the highest chance professions of being sued. I think the number one is lawyers, number two is doctors. You have
Hmm.
registered nurses and accountants and financial planners. These are the people who are being sued.
Hmm.
And I've had guys who, okay, they have, insurance in place, but there's some type of a cap. Maybe they're covered to $2 million, but they're not, people are not getting sued for $2 million anymore. They're getting sued for $4 million or $5 million, even if they're not doing anything wrong. Um, you know, the way the incentive systems are set up is so that, they can sue and sue and sue and sue. And the way that the lawyer is being paid is only if they win the case. So people don't want to play anymore. So you're going to see a massive brain drain. It's happening in the United States. It's certainly happening in Canada. I mean, the brain drain in Canada is very much a real
Oh yeah.
thing. And I mean, what the government is doing there is just completely criminal. So, but whatever the situation is, with these highly paid professionals, we help walk them through the whole process and relocate them overseas. And it's cool because you get to watch their stress level go down drastically, and
Totally.
they enjoy the sunshine and no more shoveling snow or wearing scarves or jackets or anything like this. And
Yep.
no one's going to slip on the ice and break their hip. Like, you know, come down and enjoy the beach, or go hiking in the mountains. Like, sounds better to me.
And what do you think the split is between sort of young digital nomads versus, um, families, where the fathers in like their 30s, 40s type of thing versus retirees? I feel like those are like kind of the three categories. What are you kind of seeing?
So my work is almost exclusively with private clients. So for mine, they're the highly paid professionals or the business owners. And a lot of mine are brick and mortar business owners. That's not to say that we don't have a ton of digital nomads, remote workers, um, young families inside of our hub membership on, a business class level. And, that allows them to have all the Rolodex of all the lawyers and accountants and everyone I work with. They get access to all the information and the special reports and the videos and the webinars and the exclusive deals and all these types of things. But it's not often that group who is paying my top level consulting things.
Right.
But the product that we offer is still amazing. Like, I mean, we still just put out world class stuff. So it's there to help. But people in that age are maybe a little bit more do it yourself, where the other generation, they don't have time to figure these things out. Like, if you're a spine surgeon and you're billing at $1,000 an hour, you don't want to spend hundreds of hours to figure this out. You just want someone to take care of it for you. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's the real difference.
Okay. So almost like I think Andrew Henderson kind of does the same thing, right? He's like millions of people can watch my videos, but if you want to actually work with me, 25K. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Crema Social. Crema Social is like TikTok for international dating. It's an app you can download right now on your phone, and 3 out of 4 people on Crema are single women. The app was founded in Colombia, so unsurprisingly, there are a lot of Latinas on the app, by the way. So, how does it work? Crema Social is a social meal experience where you invite a hot girl for a lunch date via video call and food delivery. New concept, so you'll have to try it out for yourself, but this is probably the best way to meet Latinas before you visit the country. So if you're in Latin America or planning to visit Latin America, download Crema Social now and start getting dates right away. There will be a link in the description to download, or just search Crema Social on your favorite app store. Have fun, guys. Para arriba and up.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know Andrew or his work or what he does. Like, I mean, everyone sees his YouTube videos. I'm not sure, so I can't really comment. Um, I think that he does like a lot of crypto people and drop
Mm-hmm.
shippers and digital nomads. Amazon FBA and things like that. Whereas I said mine are more lawyers, doctors, dentists, or
Uh-huh.
small business owners. So it's maybe a bit of a division that way, but I'm not really sure how he sets up his stuff.
Okay. Yeah, definitely makes sense. I mean, that's like the classic business thing, right? Like go for the people who have money and solve problems for them, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I think the other big difference is I'm a happily married man. I've got lots of kids. We're very outspoken libertarians, very into the homeschooling movement and things like
mhm.
this. So I think it's also a different type of person who resonates with my work opposed to his. Yeah. So that would be my guess on those types of things.
Totally. And back to like the business, you said like brick and mortar and business owners or people selling their practice. So you need to kind of be an expert in like capital gains and exit taxes.
So I am, and you also have to understand that I work with lawyers on everything that we do. So what the value proposition is not that I give legal advice or
Hmm.
I am going to, do your tax return or anything like that. I have lawyers
Right.
who sign off on everything, like
Yeah, yeah.
everything the lawyer signs off on. And I
But
have
these
the
are the
lawyer.
issues that people are kind of like facing, right?
Definitely, definitely. And we're able to work with the lawyers. I come up with a lot of the strategic planning, and then the lawyer weighs in, and we are also very much team players. So if you have in-house legal counsel or you have a CPA or a CFO that works, with you in your business, then we bring them into the conversation. So it's not just a one-man band. It's definitely a team effort and all of these.
Totally. There's a really interesting conundrum for people at that upper end of the spectrum where, for like a young digital nomad who has no assets in Canada, for example, very easy to leave the Canadian tax system, right? You just move to Panama, move to Paraguay, get residency, probably no exit tax. Maybe you don't declare your crypto, who knows? But for people with like a big brick and mortar business, I mean, and maybe they have a house, maybe multiple houses, things like that. You get into having a six-figure exit tax bill, and then people start going like, "Shit, should I even move? Like, I'm gonna have to like, how am I even gonna afford this like 250K bill to leave? Things like that."
Yeah, I mean, the taxes in Canada is pretty disgusting and it's not getting any better. Sometimes clients are like, "Oh, maybe should I just wait and hope that things will get better?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't think that's a viable strategy." Same type of things with the devaluation of the Canadian dollar. Like it's a complete mess and it's just in complete free fall after the Trump tariffs that he's threatened. So, my response to this is, what over the last 13 years makes you think that things are going to get better in Canada? I mean, it's a complete nightmare in that country. For my money, I think it's best to get out. Like I was born in the country, I was raised in the country. I left when I was 17. I'm 42 now, so well, in a week or real soon I will be 42. As I said, with coming up with the birthday party, but yeah, I don't think that there's a lot of good things going on in that country. And the sooner you can get out, the better off you're going to be. And then when you're a Canadian non-resident, and as long as it's not Canadian sourced income or Canadian real estate, you basically don't have any tax obligations back to the country ever again.
Yeah,
And if we relocate you to a territorial tax country or a tax-free country, you have drastically more freedom in your life, not just a little bit. Sometimes people are like, oh, shouldn't we just stay and fight and, call your senator or call this person? And I'm like, none of that works. Like, just remove yourself from the situation, get out of this abusive relationship you have with your government, this Stockholm syndrome, and enjoy your life. There's so many more beautiful places, especially in Latin America, especially.
Mhm. Yeah, we like to say, just rip the band-aid, right? Like even if there's a bit of exit tax now, I mean, in the long run, you're still like if you can get to zero tax status, you're going to be saving, huge amounts every year, right?
100%. I mean, and sometimes people are like, "Oh, should I continue to contribute to my TFSA?" I was like, "Listen, when we go offshore, everything is a TFSA. Like, like you don't need to do this anymore. Like you're still thinking, in the old terms." I mean, but once again, I just want to highlight, so no one takes this out of context. We work with the tax lawyers. Everything is signed off. We do everything by the books. We don't mess around in the gray zone or the black zone or anything like that. Every we can quote every single law that we're going through all of this. We pay the appropriate taxes. We do the deemed disposition. But I mean, once you're out, you're out. A very good feeling.
And what are some of the most popular countries right now for people?
I mean, obviously Panama. I mean, I think that the fact that I'm here in Panama, a lot of people are, very interested, very curious about that. I first came to Panama in 2004. I was hitchhiking through Central and South America for 18 months and had a good experience in Panama, and then came back to Panama in 2019 and have been located here since. We do a lot in Colombia. Colombia is not great from taxes, but from a lifestyle standpoint, beautiful, beautiful country. We do a lot in Paraguay these days, Uruguay, Brazil. Brazil, I don't like politically, but from a lifestyle standpoint, there's amazing. There's also some amazing opportunities for investment in that country, part of the BRICS, and I think it'll be interesting how that comes through. Obviously, Mexico and Costa Rica. That's probably the number one destination that people think of when leaving either Canada or the United States or those two countries. I think that, you know, like logically, maybe logically is not the right word. I think viably, Panama is a much better location than Costa Rica, but we still get lots of inquiries about Costa Rica.
Hmm.
Some in the Caribbean, very little in Europe, but the odd place in Europe we work with people on, and almost nothing in Southeast Asia, just too far away.
Yeah, yeah. Did you? I think you did the Nicaragua ecoforestry investment, like investor visa. Have you been keeping that up?
So it has been a very slow process going through Nicaraguan bureaucracy. Yeah, we did the reforestation visa in Nicaragua. It's been very, very slow. But this is why we test things. Not everything works amazing, but when we find something that really works well, then we can help clients through it because there's so many people out there who will recommend things but won't test it themselves or won't
Hmm.
put their own money where their mouth is. They read about it on someone's blog articles or even read about it on my blog articles and then just quote it. But it's like they've not done it themselves. I'm actually out here doing this every single day. Nicaragua is tough. It's not not a fast process. So just be aware.
So what I'm hearing is you've been waiting for over a year and a half for your residency to get accepted.
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly. Which is fine because that's just the name of the game. I mean, some are super easy and quick and are amazing, and others are terrible. And just because it's written one way in the law doesn't mean it's going to be like that in reality. Um, so you try lots of different things and you experiment, and some works and some don't. So
Yeah, cool. And do you say publicly how many passports or residencies you have, or give some of?
I share some. I share some. So obviously, I am Panamanian permanent resident. Paraguayan resident. I've done the St. Kitts citizenship by investment. I've done
Mm,
some other citizenship by investments. I have some other passports in my back pocket that I don't talk about, and I've got some residencies. I'm pretty open about the real estate. I've bought real estate in 9 different countries over the last whatever it's been, 20 years, 15 years. Um, you know, Lots in Latin America. I'm testing things in Africa at the moment and stuff. I talk about
mm.
that a little bit because I don't know how the legal system is going to work there. I don't know what the process is going to be like or the immigration or the banking. So I'm over there testing those types of things. So we talk about it a little bit on the newsletter. But yeah, I try to be as transparent as possible while at the same time still protecting my family's privacy. Um, yeah.
What's that balance like? Kind of being, building a personal brand. As you know, my Latin life is like semi-anonymous. Vance is not my real name, and I'm like thinking, I'm like, it's like kind of getting the point where I should just use my real name, but I haven't like pulled the trigger. I don't know. What advice would you give me?
I mean, it's hard to roll backwards. If you look what happened with Sovereign Man and those guys, and they didn't use their real name, and then he had to start using his real name, and then it looked really bad. And I don't know. Like,
Why? What happened with that? I don't know. I don't know what happened.
once again, it's not something for me to. I don't know. Like,
Okay.
I mean, Simon Black's not his real name, and
Right.
then you know now he's sold the I don't know. You know what? I'm not even going to touch this one. Um, I don't know. Go Google search. But for me, at the very beginning, I wanted to use my real face, my real name. I wanted to be a shining light in this. But I'm happy to be transparent about the things that I do. But on the other side, I don't put up pictures of my wife or my children
Right.
online anywhere. I've got 3 young kids, and there's all kinds of weird stuff going on in the world, especially with children. So I keep all of that stuff completely private. And any of your listeners, I suggest look at doing the same. I mean, everybody can lead their lives the way they want, but um, yeah, I don't agree with children on the internet. And they
Totally.
can't
Totally. Totally.
they can't make choice decisions like that.
Because
So
you obviously get like a lot more opportunities when you use your real name, because then you get invited to speak at events and like who knows what else.
yeah, and I mean, I meet heads of state, I meet ministers, I sit down, I consult with the government in different countries. The changes to the Panama immigration. We consulted directly with the government on the
Mm,
qualified investors visa. I'm in talks with working with the government of El Salvador. I work a little bit with the ones in Paraguay, and we're looking at other countries. You can't be using a fake name for those types of things. Like,
yeah,
there's no
yeah,
way. I mean, like, there's Secret Service around and things like that. Your name's on a list, and you've got to show your identification, and like, it's just not congruent. But I mean, everybody can do whatever they want, and it's up to you. But I decided at the very beginning to use my real name and my real face.
hmm,
The other flip side to things I will tell you is that I start to get recognized everywhere now. Like, I walk around Panama, and it's at this point, it's almost on a daily basis that someone's recognizing me or want to take a photo, or some weird stuff as well. Like, I had someone the other day who sent me a picture of me inside of a cafe having a meeting or something. Like, hey, I saw you at the cafe or something, and just sent me a photo. I was like, thanks. Like, I was eating my lunch. Like, I don't know. It's kind of a weird feeling as well when everybody knows what you look like and your name and everything. So maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe I should have done it totally anonymous.
yeah, something. Yeah, well, you're right that you can't put the genie back in the bottle,
Exactly.
but definitely a lot of upside too. And I think it builds more trust with clients as well, for sure. Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really attached to my clients. Like, when I work with the clients one on one or in the group environment, and we do one of these tours, like, I'm eating every single meal with them. I'm on every single, you know, I'm sitting them with them on the bus. They come down and visit. I get clients 3 times a week, 4 times a week who are in Panama, who we're having dinner with. I'm happy to bring my wife and my kids out for those types of meetings. So we're very family oriented. We're very community. So once I know a client, then I open up my whole heart and I give them everything I've got. But on it, like, people where you don't know who's on the other end, I have to be a little bit cautious. I mean, I think that's pretty self evident. But once I know the person, then yeah, I open up and I share all of these types of things. Most of my clients end up becoming like really dear friends of mine. And I've even had clients who have stayed at my house when they needed to, or we've gone on vacation together. And yeah, because all of the business is so philosophically aligned, my
Hmm.
client base have like the same type of value system that I have. And I put so much of
Yeah.
that in the email newsletter that, if you like my podcast and you like my newsletter, that's exactly who I am in real life. Like, there's no difference between me on the microphone or off the microphone. I am absolutely the same person. And certain people, really resonate with that. And so the relationship gets very strong very quickly. And it's cool because I've had some clients for 6, 7 years, and I still talk to them on a regular basis, even though their consulting agreement is up. I still talk to them all the time, and I love spending time with them.
And what year did you? Hey guys, quick break from the episode to tell you about BitRefill. BitRefill allows you to shop online and in person without banks, converting your crypto directly into merchant balance. We're talking gift cards to Nike, Amazon, Apple, Airbnb, Hotels.com, and many more, all paid for with crypto. BitRefill offers more than 10,000 gift card options in 180 countries all across Latin America, including Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, El Salvador, and many more. You can also apply the code MyLatinLife at checkout to get 10% back on your first purchase. Go to bitrefill.com for more information. Officially start Expat Money or get into this business?
Okay, so it's kind of a complicated question. I left Canada in 2000 and started traveling internationally. And then I did all of, these types of things for myself for 10 years plus or something like that. Then I started consulting about 10 years ago, and I started Expat Money in 2017, 2016, 2017, something like that. But I'd
Mm-hmm.
already been consulting, but just doing it under my own name before that. So if
Mm-hmm.
you see the email newsletter, the newsletter EMS Pulse now still comes out from newsletter@mikkelthorup.com, because that was the original one 10 years ago. That's before I started Expat Money. And then the podcast started in 2017. So yeah, so Expat Money must have been 2016, 2017. So it depends what you count from. Podcasting for 8 years, consulting for 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
company, it's halfway in between that, I would say.
Where do you see things going from here for the RCBI industry and sort of expat, sovereign individual, flag theory type industry?
I mean, I think that we're going to see a lot more regulation coming in. I think there's a lot of sabotage and infighting and, backstabbing in the citizenship by investment space from different service providers. I'm not a service provider. That's a decision a long time ago I made. I did not want to be a service provider. I wanted to be a consultant. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to help and support people through it, but I don't like filling out the paperwork myself. This is also why I partner with other law firms. They can sign off on everything. They can take the responsibility and do the legal work. But if you see what's happening in the Caribbean right now with people suing each other and throwing each other under the bus and reporting things, I mean, that's nothing I want to be involved with. It's really dirty. So um, I just don't have much to do with that kind of stuff. I do more the overall plan, and
Mm-hmm.
then the citizenship by investment, residency by investment are just one of the tools in the toolbox. That's not the overall business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. You just stay on the consulting side kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
And where do you see that going? Like maybe you see like some TikToker talk about residency, gets like 1 million views or something like that. And you're like, damn, like, there's some kids coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of people recognize that this is a growing industry and want to get involved. Um, the big difference, I would say, with my company is the fact that I've been doing this for 25 years. And I don't think you're going to really find a lot of people who have been doing it for so long. So sometimes it's like, oh, I'm going to give you advice on this. I got my permanent residency 18 months ago. And you're like, well, I mean, that's not really, you have no context. You have no perspective. You've not been anywhere. Okay, maybe you are great on TikTok or something like that, and that's awesome. And I'm happy for you, but you have to be really careful when you're consulting on people's lives, and our words really have weight. So, going back to the previous conversation, why aren't I, relocating people to Georgia or something like that? Well, I mean, because there's some serious problems there. And if I just make some flippant comment on a podcast about, hey, you should move there, and someone does it, and they're having riots in the street and throwing Molotov cocktails and stuff like that. It's like, someone can really get hurt. Like, I'm even cautious about recommending things like Argentina, even though I think what Milei is doing is amazing, and I love his work. I want to let him do his work before I'm going to relocate somebody there. Like, I don't need to be the first mover in any of these types of spaces. I'm very cautious. I'm very conservative. I take my time through all of it. I'll test things for a couple years myself. And then once it's like, all right, this has really worked out, this is really good, then I'll move into it and I'll help people. But I think this is a difficult space to, I don't know. You see all these like fake it until you make it. Like, this is not the industry for that. It's just not. It's too serious.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. What's your favorite hockey team?
Oh, Jesus. I have no idea. See, that's the thing. People are like, Mikkel, you know so much. My wife and my kids use me as like their own version of Wikipedia. And I'm like, yeah, I know so much about certain things. I don't know anything about hockey or team sports or anything like that. I have no experience in those types of things. But ask me the geopolitics of some random country or the food or the culture or about the language or the tax situation. Yeah, I can probably talk your ear off about that for hours and hours. But I don't do, there's so many things that other people are interested in and know that just I do not know. So,
I was just trying to slyly figure out what province you're from.
aha, no, I'm born in southwestern Ontario. I was born close to Toronto. I left school at a very young age and started traveling internationally at 17 and just fell in love with it. And I almost never go back to Canada. Um, I have my mother here in Panama with me, who's one of the most important people in my life, and my wife and my kids are here. My brother, who's amazing, but he moved to East Coast Canada, so even if I still lived in Canada or went visit, he's not there. So it's just my dad, and then my dad comes to visit me here, so it's all right.
Okay, so you're either a Leafs fan or maybe a Detroit Red Wings fan.
As I said, neither. I haven't watched a hockey game in probably 30 years, so I wouldn't even know.
And the kids speak good Spanish now?
Yeah, so all my kids are completely trilingual. They speak native level English, native level Spanish, native level Mandarin Chinese. My son's studying Brazilian Portuguese. My daughter's studying Arabic. My daughter's also studied Russian in the past, but something happened with some boy at karate. I don't know. And now she refuses Russian. So she's 8 years old, so I can't keep track of all the drama in 8-year-old dating lives. But we're multilingual family, and the dinner table is always in 3 languages. We practice one parent, one language. So my kids
Hmm.
only speak to me in English, only
Hmm.
speak to my wife in Chinese, and only speak to the nannies in.
Yeah, I heard that's kind of the way to go. Cool. And Carnival's coming up in a week or two. People don't realize, but Panama's like big for Carnival. There's a couple different cities for it. Are you like gonna celebrate it, dress up the kids, anything like that?
So I will actually be I'm a keynote speaker on the Tom Woods cruise. I'm leaving. Well, as we're recording, I'm leaving in a couple of days for that. So I'll be presenting on a cruise. But yeah, Panama's huge for it. I think they're moving it outside of Panama City this year. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, Panama's got tons of cool events, and like we always take our kids to the Santa Claus parade and everything
Hmm.
here, and it's so funny to watch these huge parades because they just have marching band after marching band after marching band. Like, they just go crazy for marching bands in these countries,
You
and
gotta love
that's
it.
basically like the whole event is just marching bands. But I love Panama and the activities and the things there are to do here. It's awesome.
Any excuse to celebrate.
100%, 100%. And that's the cool thing is, I mean, it's family first. It's making friends and having nice food and going out, and you can, I mean, Latin America as well as anybody. You walk into an elevator, you always say hello to everybody. You walk into the
Yep.
doctor's office, you say hello, buenas, buenas, to the whole room. It's so friendly. Like, People are on their phones, like watching YouTube videos or TikTok videos with their volume at max. Like everybody's just like, no one cares at all. They're all having a good time. It's hilarious.
Oh man, totally other subject, but yeah, I love it. Cool. So we'll wrap it up there. Where can people find you? Last message.
Yeah, 100%. So if people go to expatmoney.com, everything is on there, the blog, the newsletters, the webinars, the membership, the conference, everything is on expatmoney.com. The other place would be look up the Expat Money Show on wherever you're listening to us today. Podcast's been running for a very long time, hundreds of episodes, lots of big names, lots of names of people you've never heard of before, the lawyers and the developers and the experts that I work with in my private consulting. So if you search Expat Money Show, it should come up immediately. And yeah, happy to take care of any of your audience who needs some help. So thanks so much, Vance. I really appreciate the opportunity today.
Absolutely. Yeah. One person you interviewed, I think you and I are the only people who've done it, is his name Jim in Porto Alegre, Brazil. American expat down there. That guy's a legend. So
Yeah,
shout out
he's
to him.
hilarious. He used to do the moderation for our Facebook group. We've got several Facebook groups, and I think that one's got about 20,000 people. So for years and years, he did the moderation. And then I'm not sure. I haven't talked to Jim in a very long time, but he's come to visit me and stuff. We went out for a sushi dinner. He was super nice. Yeah, big fan. He was really great.
Yeah. Well, he survived the floods down there, and I'm sure he's doing well. So shout out to him.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. This has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Again, our guest today, Mikkel Thorup, Expat Money. Please subscribe to the podcast. Check out Mikkel's podcast as well. See you in the next episode. Ciao for now.